Hello people, you must be wondering what I'm doing on a platform with a railway track. This is actually the Jaffna railway station, a wonderful place. This is the northernmost part of Sri Lanka. So I'm going to explore all around Jaffna Peninsula. But remember, Jaffna has so many tourist attractions, so I might not be able to visit all of them. Alright people, here we are at Karenagar. In my tour of Jaffna Peninsula, we came to see this beautiful lighthouse. Unfortunately, it's abandoned. This lighthouse is called as Karenagar Lighthouse. Also, there's another name called Kovilan Point Lighthouse. I'm not sure about it 100%, but I came across that name. This was built in 1916, approximately 104 years ago. The height is 102 feet or 31 meters. The light emanating from this lighthouse was good enough to light all the way up to 11 nautical miles. If you multiply that by 1.8, you get the number of kilometers, approximately 20. So let's go and see this beautiful lighthouse, and we can also see the beautiful Indian Ocean beyond that. Let's walk towards it, people. Alright, this is a close-up view of the Karenagar Lighthouse or the Kovilan Point Lighthouse. You can see there's a derelict building to the right. I wonder if this was used as part of the lighthouse operation in the old days. Not quite sure about it. Okay, let me zoom in the top part and show you once again. This is the top part. As you can clearly see, it's not in a very good state. Maybe we can go to the base and have a look through that chimney and see how it looks. A real close-up view. You can even see a tree is growing. This is the bottom half of the lighthouse. You can see the year, the built-in year 1916 engraved on that stone. Let's walk in and see how it looks. Okay, this is how it looks like when you look at a lighthouse from the bottom through the chimney. This long 102 feet high pillar. You can see those ladders available to climb up, but unfortunately you can see there's so much rust and I don't trust them to hold very much. In fact, we need to move away soon as possible. You can see the size of it and the year built. Unfortunately, there are so many cracks on the body of this lighthouse. I hope someone will renovate it and restore it to its former glory. This is the Indian Ocean of Karenagar Lighthouse. I'm going to give you a 180-degree view. I hope the wind will stay away. You can listen to the sea. Let's move to the other end of the 180-degree angle. The sea is very still, nice and calm, just like my mind right now. Okay, here we complete our 180-degree view. Okay people, we are signing off from Karenagar Lighthouse. Good morning people. Here we have come to yet another beautiful, remarkable and historical place. This is the Kaduragoda Buddhist Temple. In Tamil it's known as Kandarode. This is close to Chunnakam. Chunnakam in Sinhala is Hunugama. So let's go in and see what's so important and historical about the Kaduragoda Buddhist Temple. This houses 60 stupas or pagodas enshrined with relics of 60 Arahant monks. Let's go in and have a look. This is Sri roaming around Jaffna Peninsula. This is the signage. We are entering into the Kadurugoda Buddhist temple. This has so much history behind it. It says Lord Buddha in his second visit to Nagadeepa came and rested here. And also, according to the Mahavansha, when Sangamitta Theruni brought a sapling of Sri Mahabodhi, that procession led by King Devanampiya leading towards Anuradhapura from Dambakola Patuna, also known as Jambakola, passed through this point, this Kadurugoda Vihara. Hence, there is so much history and stories behind this beautiful, isolated, ancient Buddhist temple in Jaffna Peninsula. One of the very few remaining Buddhist temples in the northern province of Sri Lanka. Well, this is the story behind this Kadurugoda archaeological site. This is the Kadurugoda ancient pagodas, which houses relics of Arahat monks. As you can see, most of these pagodas have been destroyed. Only about 20 are remaining today. But in 1970s, they had uncovered approximately 56 such pagodas. But right now we are left with about only 20. The smallest pagoda is about 8 feet in diameter, while the largest is approximately 24 feet in diameter. If you have been to Polonnaruwa, we have a similar such place called Alahana Pirivena, where they have built similar pagodas, similar stupas, enshrining relics of the Arahat monks. But the shape and the way they have been built is vastly different to these Kadurugoda pagodas. I think this is a better place to view the entire premises. In 1948, Archaeology Department had acquired 7 acres belonging to this Kadurugoda temple. By 65, it had reduced to 3 acres, and present day, it's reduced to less than 1 acre, thanks to the encroachment and land grabbing by the nearby villagers. Very sad story, quite similar to the stories we are hearing from Muhudumaha Vihare, Devanagala, Kuragala, and many other Buddhist archaeological sites in the north and east especially. I hope the authorities will take steps to restore these places and stop this encroachments. Closer view of these stupas. They are built with a coral stone, and you can see there are many holes on top of those tile lights. Pretty unique, and there has been no similar pagodas found in Sri Lanka. That's why that's really important we safeguard these to the future. This is a ground level view of some of these remaining pagodas. You can see some of them are losing those tiles, and each and every tile has a hole in it. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the reason for that one. Unlike the typical Buddhist pagodas, which has a square shape, Devata Kotu and Hataras Kotu on top of the dome, this has only an umbrella shaped pinnacle, nothing more. That's why it's really unique and not found anywhere else. You can see how small the entire area looks compared to what it would have been in the past. Especially in the 1948, where we had 7 acres in this archaeological site. Okay people, then I think it's time to end our journey to this beautiful ancient Kadarugoda temple. As per an archaeological expedition done by the University of Pennsylvania in 1970s, they had found some corals and these tiles, which after radiocarbon dating found to be more than 3,300 years old. They actually had traced it back to the 13th century BC. So this is a very historic place. That's why it's really important for us to safeguard it and keep it for the future generations. And thanks to the Paul Lee Peavis, former Jaffna district judge, he had uncovered this place in the 1917 and noticed approximately 56 to 57 pagodas, but unfortunately we only have nearly 20 such pagodas remaining today. Therefore, make sure if you come here, don't venture into that covered area where they have the pagodas and whatever the remains. Take pictures and enjoy it from the outside. Anyway, when you are coming, there is no monk living in the premises. It's been taken care of by the Sri Lanka Army. They had to be deployed here in order to stop further encroachments by the villagers. Very sad story. Remember what happened to Muhudu Mahavihara. And I hope authorities will keep an eye on places like these, help them safeguard to the future generations for them to come and enjoy and read the history. Alright people, this is Sri signing off from Kadarugoda Buddhist temple. I'll be seeing you once again with more places in Jaffna. This is the time for me to roam around Jaffna Peninsula. Okay people, here we have come to yet another beautiful place of Kadarugoda temple. This is called Kandarode Lotus Pond. This is very popular among the bird lovers as a bird watching hotspot. Unfortunately, you can see there is very little water in this pond, but this grass and all these aquatic plants are really good for the birds, the wetland birds who come here during the migratory season. It looks so beautiful and vast compared to these tiny ponds available across Jaffna Peninsula. There's also a Kovil nearby. We are trying to go that way and try and get a closer look. This is the entire expanse of the lake. You can see there is a little water towards the center of the pond and a couple of birds are there. I can also see some water lilies and lotuses, as the name suggests, lotus pond. Here I've got down to the pond itself where this grass bank is to get a closer look. There's a busy road going to the left. They have also built sort of like a walkway along the length of the pond, just like the walkways you find in Colombo. This is the walkway built along the length of the pond, parallel to the road. This will also help you come and enjoy the lake as well as take some long distance shots of the birds using probably a 500mm lens. This is a view of the water level. I've come all the way to the center of the pond to get this view. There's very little water surface area currently, but during the rains this should fill up completely. Nice find close to Kadarugoda ancient Buddhist temple. Okay people, I think it's time to wrap up our journey to this Kandarode Lotus Pond. Not a very popular attraction among the tourist list, but very well worth the visit, especially if you can make it early in the morning or towards the evening, where you might be rewarded with some beautiful birds, and especially they are in the migratory season. And there's a nice walkway, I think, for the people of this village, where they can come in the evening or in the morning for a walk, to do a bit of jogging or just come and relax. This is quite common in Colombo, especially in the suburban areas, but sort of like a novelty for the people in the remote villages of Northern Peninsula. Okay, this is Sridhan signing off from Kandarodei Lotus Pond. This is Pokkane Jama, a pond that resembles a human foot, located off Chunnakam. Chunnakam is Hunugama in Sinhala. You can clearly make out the foot shape right now, looking so beautiful and very strange. This is Pokkane Yama. You can see this pond is covered in all around with a granite wall, and it's been used to get water, probably by the water board. This is spelled as Pokkane Jama, though pronunciation is with a Y, Pokkane Yama. Ground level close-up view of Pokkane Yama. Very interesting story behind this. It's said in the past people came here to commit suicide by jumping into this pond. Hence the word Yama. But there is also a Hindu god called Yamaraj. I think it's time for us to leave from this beautiful place and very strange, unusual Pokkane Yama. The legend behind is that it says Prince Rama, when he came to Sri Lanka, while he was roaming around, he came to this place and wanting to quench his thirst, he was looking for water, and he used his bow to stuck it into the ground looking for a water hole, and this spring or this pond was a result of that. Well, that's the legend of it. I have no clue whether it was true or not, but that's one of the legends, very popular legends behind it. In addition to that, this had been a place of suiciding points for the surrounding people, but nowadays it's barricaded, being used by the water board, so nobody can come in and jump in and commit suicide, which is a good thing. Okay, then this is Sri signing off from Pokkane Yama of Chunnakam. This is my tour of Jaffna Peninsula. We'll be visiting Nilavare Bottomless Well very soon and bring that footage also. Until then, cheerio! This is the Nilavare well and the path leading to it. You can see there's a nice cement steps which you can walk all the way to the water level, but you need to be really careful so as not to fall into this. You can see the well and the wall where the water meets the ground level. This cement wall is built in order to protect this well because they are using the water from this well for various purposes. You can probably see some of the pigeons are nesting around this well in the coral-like rocky patches. You can probably hear them, and there is a group of fish roaming around. I'm going to try and catch them too. This is the group of fish I was telling you about. Approximately 100 or so, swimming freely. I'm trying to get you the water level view so that you can probably enjoy this better. This looks massive in terms of surface area compared to a normal well. Okay people, we are ending our journey to this beautiful Nilavare Bottomless Well. We'll see you once again with another beautiful place. We are at Rajamantri Palace, also known as Mantri Mane. Let's go in and have a look. You are looking into the Rajamantri Palace or Mantri Mane in Tamil. We are just walking inside. Jaffna Point Pedro Road is behind us, so there's plenty of noise of the vehicles passing by. This is the main entrance. As you can see, the ignorant visitors visited here have scribbled their names and many other things on the walls, unfortunately. Alright, you can see the Yamuna pond. This has plenty of history. One legend says one of the chief ministers of King Sangili, I'm guessing it's to be King Sangili I or the King Sangili II. One of his ministers used this pond as one of the bathing places for his wives, because his wife was so beautiful and he didn't want anyone to see her. So he dug a tunnel from the Rajamantri Palace or the Mantri Mane to Yamuna pond so that she could come and have a bath in secret. You can see the beautiful Yamuna pond, very historic place, and it's believed the holy water of Yamuna river of India has been mixed with this Yamuna pond in the ancient times. thus giving it the name Yamuna Pond. So this is a panoramic view of Yamuna Pond before we wrap our journey here. You saw the Rajamantri Palace, Mantri Mane, Sankilian Topu or Sankilian Facade, and now you are seeing the Yamuna Pond. Alright, we are going to wrap up our journey from Yamuna Pond. We'll be seeing you more of Jaffna Peninsula in the near future. Good morning, people. We are at Keethamale, going to see the beautiful and mysterious Keethamale Pond, which has so many curative properties thanks to the minerals in the water. Let's go and have a look if we can see the pond and how the setup is like. I came here in 2015. At the time I had the pond all for myself. Not sure how it will be like because I can see lots of vehicle and people moving about. Maybe we might not be that lucky. Fingers crossed. This is the path that leads to the Keethamale Pond. This is the Keethamale Pond bathing area. You can get into the pond through that. There are two entrances for the males and females. It's very well maintained. And it's believed this pond is connected to Nilavari bottomless well about 10 kilometers from here. And this is connected to the sea through that like sluice gate. And beyond this is the Indian Ocean, looking so beautiful and placid in the early morning. This is the beautiful Keethamale Pond seen from the ocean side. I'm just walking towards it, and I wonder if you can hear me above the noise of the sea and the wind. It's quite windy in the Jaffna Peninsula these days. There comes the beautiful Keethamale Pond. Very isolated, looking so calm and beautiful. I wish I could go for a dip, but unfortunately I'm not ready for the occasion. Looks so pretty, and you can probably hear there are a couple of people having a nice sea bath, making lots of noises. People believe this water in Keethamale Pond has curative properties thanks to the mineral content in the water. Even the Keethamale name comes from like mongoose mound. It is believed that one of the persons who had a mongoose face was cured after having a bath in this Keethamale Pond. There are so many legends related to the folklores. Unfortunately, I can't narrate all of them, but those are some of the stories. But you can see this water is really nice, and it's believed this is connected to the Nilavari bottomless well underground and many other ponds. Another view of Keethamale Pond, and you can see the Naguleshwaran Kovil in the backdrop. It's a very important Kovil for the Hindus, one of the 5 Shivam Kovils in Sri Lanka. This is the sluice gate that connects Kirimalai Pond to the ocean. You can see the canal below. This is the connection to the Kirimalai Pond of the Indian Ocean. This small canal connects it through the sluice gates behind me. You can see once again the bathing area and where people change. And you can probably see the tip of Naguleshwaran Kovil over that tile roof. You can see the Ilavale lighthouse in the distance, and I'll be visiting it very soon. So it's time to end my journey to this beautiful and mysterious Kirimalai Pond. As I was saying before, this is believed to be connected to many other places like Niravarei, Idikandu, Pokkaneyama, Nelliyadi, Manipai. There are so many such ponds, and this is believed to be interconnected underground through aquifers. Nevertheless, there is so much history and stories behind Kirimalai Pond. I put some of them in the comments so you can read. It's really difficult to do videos here with the number of people and the noise and the wind and the sea. Therefore, you'll just have to enjoy the footage and read the history about Kirimalai in the comment section. I'll be visiting more places in Jaffna Peninsula, and I'll be taking you with me through these journeys. Stay tuned, folks. This is Sirappar Madam. As soon as we entered through the main facade, and let's walk towards the main entrance and see what's inside. You can see the Sirappar Madam looking so beautiful, and this is the main entrance, and there are two rooms either side of the main entrance. I'm looking at one. The sun is behind me, so you can get a better idea as to the location of these rooms. This is the interior of the Sirappar Madam. You can see there is the main courtyard. Parallel to that, on either side, you can see there are rooms, and this stretches all the way towards the Naguleshwaran Kovil. This must have been a massive resting place, probably one of the largest I have seen in Sri Lanka. But the Therimuthi Madam you find in Point Pedro is not something like this. It's sort of like a gateway to Point Pedro, which was built on either side of the main road. But this is quite different in terms of usage. You are seeing the interior of the Sirappar Madam, located close to Kizimale. This Madam, or Ambalama in Sinhala, or the resting hall, resting place, had been used in the past for the devotees who came to worship Naguleshwaran Kovil and came to have a bath in Kizimale Pond. This has so many inner chambers, large hall, and many rooms with facilities. Unfortunately, now it's all in ruins, but this is a declared archaeological monument. Okay, we are going to end our journey to this Sirappar Madam or Sirappar Ambalama, resting hall, resting place. There is something similar in Point Pedro called Therimuthi Madam. I managed to visit it in 2015. If I'm lucky, I might be able to visit it tomorrow and give you a footage, because last time I came here, the places were more pristine and devoid of people. Now it has increased in numbers, so it's really difficult to do any footage, and there's so much background noise as well. And if I'm lucky, I will be able to show you the Therimuthi Madam tomorrow. So we are heading towards Ilawale Lighthouse and Dambakola Patuna. Stay tuned, folks. Okay, here we are at Ilawale Lighthouse. Now we are actually against the sun, but this looks very beautiful if we can see it from the other end. Let's go and see. We are coming to see the Ilawale Lighthouse and the beautiful Ilawale Beach. This is the Ilawale Lighthouse, built off Ilawale Beach for the purpose of navigation of the fishing boats. This is not one of the primary lighthouses in Sri Lanka, so it is not listed under the list of lighthouses operated in Sri Lanka. This is a close-up view of the Ilawale Lighthouse. Unfortunately, we can't climb up to it. There is an entrance which is locked. I wish we got a chance, but unfortunately, it's not my lucky day, people. And if I was lucky enough, you would have also seen this beautiful panoramic view of the Ilawale Beach and the surrounding areas. This is a better viewing angle of the Ilawale Lighthouse. You can see it's newly built and it's quite tall, approximately 90 to 100 feet, for the sole purpose of the fishermen. This is the Ilawale Beach and the fishing harbour. There are many boats resting under the makeshift shelters built with bamboo and coconut leaves. Unfortunately, we are unable to get on top of the Ilawale Lighthouse. It would have provided us a bird's eye panoramic view, but unfortunately we are not that lucky today, people. This is the top of the lighthouse. I really wish we could get on top there, lean on that railing and have a beautiful panoramic view of the Indian Ocean. You can see the beautiful Ilawale Lighthouse behind me. As I was telling you before, this is not one of these significant lighthouses built only for the usage of the fishermen, where they can easily navigate when they are going fishing in the night. So it would be really difficult because there are no landmarks as such to navigate. Even though the KKS harbour is nearby, it would be easier for them to have this lighthouse to direct their boats straight to the Ilawale Beach. And this fishing village looks so calm and quiet because this is midday. This is when the fishermen are taking a break. Unlike me, roaming around Jaffna, coming to see these isolated and not so popular attractions. We were at Kizimale Pond a short while ago and Sirappar Ambalama or Sirappar Madam, and we are now heading towards Dambakola Patuna, one of the most ancient ports in the entire world. Alright people, let's go and see what's more we can see in this beautiful Jaffna Peninsula. This is Sri signing off from Ilawale Lighthouse. This people is Ilavale beach and the Indian Ocean looking so glamorous. Absolutely breathtaking, out of this world. This small rocky formation adds to the variation and looks so majestic. You can see a couple of Sri Lankan Navy patrol boats, the golden fence around Sri Lanka, and to this side is Kirimale Pond, where we were a few minutes ago, and the KKS harbour. The Ilavale fishing villages and the main road between Kirimale and Damakolapattana is beyond this. I am at this beautiful Ilavale beach. You can see the beautiful and calm sea behind me. There are lots of color variations of the water, like grey, blue, emerald green, and it changes as the water goes towards the infinity. It looks absolutely out of this world. The other important thing here is that Ilavale lighthouse is also nearby. Therefore, this is a beautiful location for you to come and have a nice bit of a picnic. Maybe a quiet time, especially early in the morning or in the evening. The sunset must be absolutely out of this world. Unfortunately, we are not that lucky because this is close to midday. I had to cut short my journey of Jaffna Peninsula and manage my time. Therefore, I am unable to give you this absolutely breathtaking views. What to do, people? You have to be content with whatever we get at times. Alright, this is Sri signing off from Ilavale Beach. I'll be seeing you with more attractions of Jaffna Peninsula very soon. Okay, people, here we are at Damakolapattana. Going to see the Damakolapattana Vihara. This is a very historic place. This fort is more than 2270 years old. This is where in 250 BC, Tedi Sangamitta brought the Sri Mahabodhi sapling from India on the invitation of Arahat Mahinda and King Devanampiya. Let's go and see what this temple is like. This is the main road between Damakolapattana, Karayanagar, Kirimale and Point Pedro. You can see it's nice and shady, plenty of margosa trees. And this temple is maintained by the Sri Lanka Navy. Thanks to their effort, it looks so beautiful and pristine. And the entrance to the temple is to the right. You can probably make out the signage now. Damakolapattana. Jambakola is also called this place. This is the entrance to the Sangamitta temple at Damakolapattana. Looks so beautiful, peaceful and serene. There is so much history behind it. Historical Damakolapattana. We are standing at a very historic port that was very active more than 2000 years ago. Okay, we are going towards the temple now. You can see the Bodhi tree and the golden fence. According to Mahavansha, one of the saplings of the Sri Mahabodhi, one of the 8 saplings was planted here. Unfortunately, it is no longer available. This Bodhi tree was planted in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. Now this is being maintained by the Sri Lanka Navy. This is the beautiful stupa at Damakolapattana Vihara, built and maintained by the Sri Lankan Navy. Thanks to those soldiers, this looks so beautiful, serene and so peaceful. This is Tedi Sangamitta statue depicting her arrival of Sri Lanka with the Sri Mahabodhi sapling. This incident changed the entire history of not only Sri Lanka but also of the world. This is the temple premises. To the left is the image house. Straight ahead is the Indian Ocean and the Damakolapattana beach. To the right are some of the signages put up by the Sri Lankan Navy depicting the importance of this place and the chain of historical events. And to the right is the stupa. This is the beautiful golden Buddha statue inside the image house. And this painting depicts Arahat Mahinda's Sri Lankan arrival, and King Devanampiya is receiving him. Such a remarkable incident which occurred in 250 BC. This painting inside the image house depicts the incident when Tedi Sanghamitta brought the Sima Bodhi sapling and King Devanampiya is receiving it. This is a creation by the Sri Lankan Navy to depict this historical event where Tedi Sanghamitta bringing the Sri Mahabodhi sapling and King Devanampiya receiving her and the sapling. Looks so beautifully done by the Sri Lankan Navy. This is the beautiful Dambukolapatna beach. Let's go and enjoy it, people. This is the beautiful Dambukolapatna beach. In fact, this had been one of the most ancient ports in the world. This is where Tedi Sanghamitta brought the sapling of Sri Mahabodhi to Sri Lanka, and King Devanampiya received it more than 2000 years ago. However, with the introduction of Mantota, that is of Mannar, this port became less significant because it was easier for those who are coming from India to land at Mantota and go up the Malwatuoya towards the Anuradhapura. This is the beautiful Dambukolapatna stupa. This is the map of the Sri Lanka and the path which was taken from India to reach Dambukolapatna. Beautifully depicted. View of the Dambukolapatna beach inside the temple premises. These beautiful trees provide shade and a nice cool breeze. That's why we need to protect our forests and trees more than our life. This is yet another beautiful creation by the Sri Lankan Navy. This is adjoining the temple premises along the small canal. Looks beautifully done. This resembles the ship which was used to bring the Sri Mahabodhisattva. This is a small anikut close to the temple. The main road towards Karenagar is also over there. You can get a better view of the ship now. Looks so beautiful and amazing. Okay, we are going to end our journey to this beautiful Tamakulapatna Viharaya. So much history behind it. Unfortunately, you can't see most of those historical things at present. Sadly, they have been destroyed. However, this location is so historic and it contributed to change the history of Sri Lanka so much. This is the beautiful place adjoining the temple where you can see the replica of the ship and Devi Sangamitta statue. You can get a really close view. The ship is floating in the water. This is the view beyond the anikut. There's another water source. This connects to the sea through that small canal where the replica of the ship is floating. Okay people, this is Sri signing off from beautiful and historic Dambakulapatna Vihara. I'll be seeing with you more footage, more tourist attractions in and around Jaffna Peninsula. Until then, stay safe and take care. Alright people, here we are at Fort Hammonasale. There is a beautiful and very tasty restaurant. Beyond that is the Fort Hammonasale, small island, approximately 200 to 300 meters in the Indian Ocean. So we are going to have a look at it and see. Don't think we'll be lucky enough to go to the Hammonasale port though. This was built by the Portuguese, developed by the Dutch, used by the British, and again by the Sri Lankan Navy. Now it's a nice luxury resort. You can come and stay like a prisoner. Alright, we are going into the Hammonasale restaurant to have a bit of a lunch. Stay with us. This is the Fort Hammonasale restaurant. It is on the main island of Karenagar. This is the Fort Hammonasale restaurant area. This is an air-conditioned room. If you're lucky, you would also be able to sit outside and enjoy the view of Indian Ocean and the Fort Hammonasale in the distance. This is the Fort Hammonasale restaurants from the other end. You can see we had the restaurants pretty much for ourselves. There were no other people. It's pretty much isolated. Wonderful food. Good morning, people. You can see behind me is the point of attraction. That's the KK's lighthouse. Let's go in and see what it looks like. She looks very beautiful from a distance. This is the path towards beautiful KK's lighthouse. Let's go closer and see if we are lucky enough to see it up close. She looks so beautiful early in the morning. This is another beautiful view of the KK's lighthouse. It looks so nice and pretty, though it's not as tall as the Karenagar and Point Pedro lighthouses. This is actually old, built in 1893. So that is 127 years ago. Let me give you a zoomed in view of the top. This is the top of the lighthouse. I'll give you a zoomed in view. Now you can clearly make out the lamp. Unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, this is not active, but it is being maintained by the Sri Lanka Army so that you can get a good view. This is a super close view of the top of the lighthouse. Looking so pretty. You can see the lighthouse and this kiddies park facing the Indian Ocean next to the lighthouse. Very well maintained, so people can come in with their kids and have a nice time. But there are plenty of birds that call lighthouse home. There are pigeons and parrots. Then they have a continuous struggle for the ownership. And there are plenty of crows also around. Okay, people, then it's time to end our journey to this beautiful landmark of KK's lighthouse. It was built in the late 19th century and hold such significance in terms of the lighthouses of Sri Lanka because we have very few of them. If I'm not mistaken, we have about 25 such lighthouses, but only a handful of them in active service. Right, I think now I'm going to continue my journey along the northern coast of Sri Lanka from KKS towards Point Pedro, visiting other places of interest such as Selvasannadi Temple, Tondamanaru River, Anicut. Let's go all the way go to the northernmost point of Sri Lanka, that is known as Sakkottai Cape. I'm not sure what does it mean, but only one way to find out. That beautifully erected Sri Lankan flag at the northern coast of Sri Lanka. Let's go and see that. Then stay tuned, people, and this is Sri signing off from KK's Lighthouse. We'll continue our journey in this beautiful northern peninsula. The ticket counter and the entrance to the station, the public is this way. You can see a nice waiting area also. Okay, now I'm going to walk along the platform once again to the other side, along the length of the platform. On one side is this nightmare, looking so beautiful and pretty long too. You can see the station is now getting busier because there's a train due. The intercity train is due in about 45 minutes. However, it's yet to come here. That's probably a Chinese S12 fully air-conditioned train. On our right-hand side is the Thalsevana Army Resort. Okay, people, here we have come to this beautiful Tondamanaru river and the Anicut. Beyond this is the Selvasannadi Kovil. We are going to explore this around this area, Anicut and the river. Let's go in and see what we can see in this beautiful river. This is the view of the Anicut, almost at water level. This is the Tondamanaru Anicut, built in 1948 by the Irrigation Department. This is the Tondamanaru Anicut up close. To the left is the Selva Sannadi temple. You can see in the distance. This is another view of the Anicut, close to the river. You can probably make out the Tondamanaru main bridge through the gates of this Anicut in the distance, about 100 meters away. Unfortunately, the irrigation system in the northern peninsula based in and around Tondamanaru river got damaged during the terrorism. This is the view close to the water level of Tondamanaru river. Okay people, then it's time to end our journey to this beautiful Tondamanaru river and the Anicut. I'll be now next visiting the Selva Sannadi temple. Very significant point. We'll go there and discuss why it's so important. Let's make a move then. This is the Point Pedro harbour. This is the Point Pedro lighthouse, 31 meters in height, 402 feet. Unfortunately, just like the other lighthouses, we can't go in, even we can't get a closer view. This shows the year it was built, and during the tsunami, the water level. That was a tragic incident. This is Point Pedro lighthouse in a different angle. The Lucky Crow. We got lucky to go to the base and take nice footage, thanks to the kindness of the Sri Lankan Navy. And you could clearly see the tsunami water level mark and the year built, 1931. Okay people, here I am at Thumpali beach. This is another very famous and popular beach among the Jaffna people and also those who are coming to Jaffna to visit. Let's go in and see what this Thumpali beach has to offer. I've been told it looks so beautiful and worth a visit. So here I am after Therimuuri Madam of Point Pedro. Okay, this is the road that leads towards the Thumpali beach. You can already see it in the distance. I can see a nice sand bank. Beyond that is the Indian Ocean. I'm still at the northernmost end of Sri Lanka of Point Pedro. We just visited the Point Pedro lighthouse and one of the very ancient resting halls called Therimuuri Madam. Remember, we also saw similar madam at Kirimalai called Sirapar Madam. Right, let's go in and see what this Thumpali beach looks like. These fences bordering this road look so beautiful, so I couldn't help walking along this. This is the Thumpali beach sand bank. You can see it's massive, so you can play some beach games like beach volleyball, some kabaddi, and all these things. There's plenty of space for many activities. But today, thankfully, I'm having this almost to myself, except for a couple of kids who are making some noises in the background. Now we are looking towards the Manalkadu area. So it is to wrap up our journey to this beautiful Thumpali beach. I'll be seeing you with more attractions in Jaffna in the future. Stay safe, people.